everyone, welcome to another episode of the Safe Table podcast. I'm your host Tanya, and this episode is extra special because today I'm joined by my co founder and my dear friend Simran Campbell. In this episode, we are going to discuss about building of a food safety business, challenges that we face in this industry, some insights on our friendship, and also some QA tips for you. So let's dive in chat with Simran and take this episode to another level. Hi Simran, welcome to the Safe Table podcast. How are you today?
Tanya, thank you for inviting me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We know each other from 2016. We started this our business in 2022. Before we were friends, we worked together. So from studying and then starting this food safety business, what do you want to share your journey with me and with the business?
So it's been a long journey, and I remember that we were one of the first friends in college, and we started out, going out together, spending more time together, and I think just similar interests and similar passion and similar goals towards life is what kind of kept us connected all through these years. And then getting a job, and then we getting the job at the same place, and again working there was more something out of our zone of comfort, and it was out of anything that I've experienced before. That was exciting. Then followed by me moving here, and then you moving here also kind of helped in this friendship developing and growing into a partnership.
So people who don't know, we studied together, we worked together, we got married in the same year, and then we started this business, and now we completed our 2 years. Can you reflect on any milestones that shaped our journey together personally and professionally?
I think having the same passion and working with the same passion is something we could both relate on, and having a goal towards life, trying to achieve something, and with honesty and with the mindset that yes, we want to get it, like with a go getter attitude. Sometimes you can't relate with people because you're maybe not comfortable enough, and or maybe you think that they might not suit your personality. But I think when you've got similar personalities and similar goals towards life, it does help you develop your friendship into something else. And also the transparency that we've had always throughout all these years also did help us have that trust in each other. And yeah, I think just like when we started having our mini trips together, and then going out and just the two of us and spending more time and knowing each other better, because in a big group of people you might not be able to spend so much time together one on one. But when you go out with someone and you realize, like, you have similar interests and you have similar goals and passions, similar things that you want to achieve in life. Like, I remember our trip to Montreal was one of the ones, and then the Blue Mountains. And our first job it was exciting. It was different. It was challenging, obviously, with the timings and the hours and the stresses that we had on the external, not within us, but like obviously the work stress and the people around you. It adds on to the stress. So that, and overcoming goals together, overcoming problems together, brainstorming together, that how do we get across to this hurdle.
Yeah, I think you mentioned a couple of things that really got me into the past. I want to ask you one thing. You have worked in a ready-to-eat poultry plant, right? Bakery. Then you worked in Saputo. I want to know, Simran, do you think our industry professionals get underpaid? You were in Ontario, right? Then we moved to BC. So you have seen different food safety culture, you worked with different people, different company culture, I would say. Have you seen any difference in pay scale between Ontario and British Columbia? And then do you think we, as even when we were QA or HACCP coordinator positions or managers, have you seen a lot of fluctuation in getting pay scales? Do you think we get underpaid in our industry?
I feel like between Ontario and British Columbia, yes, there is difference in pay, but also within the industry, the quality professionals are underpaid a lot. When I hear people in the banking sector, or maybe the engineering sector, or operational or health and safety, environmental sectors, like a lot of different sectors, when I realized what their pay scale is like versus ours, I do feel like, yes, especially when you're responsible for so many people, right? When you make food for people, um, you're responsible for a big group. It's not like, few handful of people, no, but like there's thousands of people, maybe the whole country, or maybe all of North America you're making food for. So when you're responsible on such a big scale, I feel like in that comparison, yes, we are definitely not paid up to the mark. Because I mean, I've got no complaints, in the sense that, we've obviously grown from what we had in the beginning as a QA tech versus all the way through our journey. But again, like, if there could be a comparison, we would be lower on the lower pay scale side.
Right, and we are superheroes of our industry. If the food is not safe, then doesn't matter you're organic or vegan or whatever certified you are, you can't sell your product.
Exactly. And you're kind of working around the clock, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're producing food around the clock. If, say, in case of a recall, you have to be available and you have to show up again around the clock. So and if, somebody has some problem, maybe they'll give you a call at an odd hour of the night, and you have to be available because you feel that sense of responsibility within you.
Right.
So again, like, when we are responsible for so many things and the well-being of people who are, immunocompromised, maybe children, maybe people who are pregnant or elderly, and all this accounts, or it's a big responsibility. So all of that is a lot of stress that adds on to the quality personnel, that maybe is not it's not glorified enough.
Right. We have recently completed 2 years in our business. So we have worked with a lot of clients. I want to know from you, would you like to share one of your bad moments, or if you have any memorable story about any customer? You don't have to name, but you can share any story or any moment where you felt like, and that was your lesson too.
Yeah, I mean, with every client that we have, we've got good memories, and obviously there could be some bad memories. I just feel when there's not enough transparency with us from the client's point of view, that's when it really sets me back personally, and that's what, kind of, I reflect on it, and I feel like we've done as much as we can on our end, but again, like, we won't get those results that we expected because there was not enough transparency. There have been great moments. I mean, when you visit them constantly over the period of 2 3 months, they're like your little family. You know about their family, maybe they know something about your family. You talk outside of work, and you talk things, and it's you maybe share a coffee together, maybe you share meal together, and there's some kind of bonding with those people. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I just sets me back is when there's not enough clarity, and then on the time of, or when you're in the middle of the audit or whenever, is when you realize, okay, we weren't on the same page.
Right. And also, I don't know if I should put this out here, but sometimes we don't get paid on time.
Yeah,
And
yeah, again, like, instances where you're pushed to do something on an urgent matter, or pushed to do something urgently. When it comes to the payment, then it's like, yeah, yeah, we'll get it done. Yeah, it's not a priority. You're on the least priority list. Like, they'll give you names of 10 clients and 10 things that they have to pay for, but they don't realize we've got bills too. And then
exactly.
we've also got our own expenses, right? We've worked hard enough to earn this, and we're not asking for anything extra. We are asking for what we talked about, what we signed on, and what we deserve.
Yeah, what expectations we set on when we started working. And I think this is one of the biggest lessons we learned slowly, because we are not from business background. We don't have any background. We just learned slowly all of our life.
You fall a few times before you learn your lessons, and sometimes those lessons you learn them hard. And yeah, it's something that we learn as we go, and I think we'll always keep learning.
Yeah, well said. Okay. There are few different aspects of our business. We do audits, we do certificate help in certifications, courses, all of that. So when you're a consultant, I want to know how your day to day look like as a consultant. What do you do if I'm a customer, I'm calling you, hey Simran, I want to get HACCP certification or I want to get BRC. So how does what would Simran do? What is her day to day, and how do you prepare your client for the food safety audit?
So if we start from someone approaching me until the end of the audit, it would be first to structure everything together, get all the information as much as you can, to be transparent and to be fair with them. And this is another thing I think that we learned down the line of the business, that we quoted what we thought was appropriate without, you know, looking deep down into what there was and how much work there was to do. And later on we realized that, okay, this is not fair on us, and this is not uh, we're doing more than what we're being paid for. And luckily for some people, they do understand, and they appreciate your hard work, and they say, they agree with you on that. So, coming back to your question, I would start with getting all the information that I can from that client and try to gather everything that they need. Look at all, because sometimes people don't know, right? Can you help me do that? So, to guide them through the whole process, explain it to them that, if you start here, it's going to take so long, without setting any false expectations, false hopes. Because if obviously someone's not HACCP certified, they don't have the bare minimal documents, then for them to get to BRC is a long, long, long journey. Aside from the work, like the documentation and the paperwork, but just to get that food safety culture, that habit in mind. Because yes, we can do the documents, we can do the paperwork, but where it really nails us down is the culture, and it's the habits. So set all those goals, expectations up, and then start booking the audit, as as not as soon as you can, but as realistically as you can. So set a timeline, explain it to them why the timeline. If you're doing a work for 2 months or 3 months project, why is that? So if it's 6 months, why is it that? Set that up, understand what are they making, how many products are they making, what is it that they've got already on hand, and then set up the audit according to the timeline that they're expecting, and obviously according to how much work you've got. Start building up their process, procedure. I personally also prefer to go in there, look at the structure of the facility, so that we can explain it to them. Those are the things that take longer to be fixed, right? Documents we can do side by side, but any structural changes, construction that they need to do, those are the things that will take longer. So explain that to them, show it to them. Once your first visit is done, start working on the paperwork, building that up, and then go back, see where they are, where they stand, and start implementing things one at a time. Obviously, if we throw 50 things at them as well to implement, it also gets overwhelming for the client as well. So, piece by piece, start implementing things and get to the audit. Make sure you're all ready. You have everything that you need. Then get to the audit, get the audit done. As you obviously give your best shot. Nobody steps into an audit thinking, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna get paid no matter what. But give your best shot. Yeah, and once they're certified, get the non-compliances in place, and that's about it.
It's a long journey
Yes,
to get someone certified. So what
exactly.
is the one lesson that you can share with food businesses or with other consultants in the around us, to okay, this is what I have seen in normal, this is the most common mistake food companies make during the audits, which they can definitely avoid as a non-conformance.
I feel like for consultants, from a company point of view, it would be instill those habits in your employees from the beginning. Because a lot of times, I'm sure both of us have been through it, is what happens is that you tell the client, hey, please make sure you don't do this. You've trained the employees, but you're not there to monitor 24/7. The client is, right? So you tell them, please make sure they do this. Maybe say, for example, please make sure they wear hair nets and beer nets and gloves all the time. And
Right.
for the majority of it, you hear from the client that, yeah, don't worry, on the day of the audit, we'll, we'll make sure. But almost a lot of my audits, I've seen that when this is not a habit which is instilled from the get go, what happens is there's definitely a non compliance on one of those GMP
Yeah.
areas on the day of the audit, because it was not a habit that you instilled from the get go when they were trained and you were trained, right? It's not something that people will realize or learn overnight. Paperwork you can do overnight. Human nature you can't change overnight.
Right.
It takes time, it takes consistency. You have to keep following up, keep pointing it out, keep correcting people. Until you don't do that, you're not going to achieve 100% results.
Right. I think that all falls into food safety culture. That
Yes.
we talk about it, then there are companies, then there are businesses specifically for food safety culture who just talk about it, at how it is important for humans or employees to understand why they're doing what they're doing. And they do it from day one, not just for the audits, not just to show it that you're in compliance in front of auditor or inspector. It's at the end, it's the company who have to sell the product. It's not the auditor. If there is a recall, it's not the auditor or a consultant or inspector have to pay the price. It would be the company who have to pay the
Exactly.
price. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your product, right? It's your baby. It's up to you how you want to treat it. Like,
Right.
for example, there was a recall recently of an antibiotic which
Mhm.
is prepared in New Delhi, India.
Mhm.
And the reason the antibiotics it's sold all across North America, they I think recalled about 4 million antibiotics, and the reason was very serious negligence of GMPs. They did not say what, but if a poor practice, a very serious deflection from GMPs, could lead to such a huge recall, it really negatively impacts your business,
True.
because people will think you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're making. If you're not, like when we go to a restaurant and we see, for example, that an employee maybe touched the garbage and they touched the shoes or whatever, and then they start prepping our food, we will point that out, right?
Right.
We are the first ones, not we, I mean, anybody would be the first person to get up and say, that person is making my food with dirty hands. It's the
Right.
same in a food manufacturing business.
Yeah.
Same concept. We just don't connect the dots sometimes.
Right. I completely agree with you. So you work with so many different regulations, right? And we have also done some stuff, some things out of our comfort zone that we never did it before. Even when we were working as an employee, there were things that we have, even the programs we have built, we have taken projects that we have never done before. How do you stay updated with all the new standards, regulations, guidelines? Because their food safety is evolving, then regulations are always changing, there is something alwaways new in the market. So as a consultant, how do you keep yourself updated?
I've registered myself on the CFI's website, so if any recall, I get an update. There's a lot of websites that we can go, food safety news, and a lot of them that we can go on and we can register ourselves. I also make it a point to maybe once a week go and look at if there's any updates or if there's any changes or if there's any significant recalls and why, what happened, try to like look into more details about it, or if there's a trend in a recall in some product, so try to read more into that. So it's just upon us how we want to. And there's a lot of ways, especially in the digital world that we are in.
Yeah.
We have a lot of options. How do we want to stay
Mhm.
up to date? It's only if you're really willing to take that initiative, right? So I've registered myself on a lot of websites, and I keep myself up to date. I keep reading them. I keep, and again, like once a week, go in and see if there's any changes or if there's any um, updates or anything new that's coming up.
Right. And I really like the thing you mentioned about CFI. If you subscribe to CFI newsletter, they will be sending you all types of emails, like recalls, yes, but you also get if there are changes, any imports, export
Yeah.
guidelines, import, any specific product, any specific ingredient, if they're making changes, even not only in, of course, within Canada, but if you're exporting outside of Canada, like you're exporting to Tokyo, Japan, Switzerland, US, India, Pakistan, doesn't matter. So wherever you're exporting, they also send you notifications for that, and which is, as a consultant, it helps you a lot, definitely, to keep yourself updated. So Simran, how do you educate your audience about food safety? You work with different customers, food manufacturing businesses, restaurants. Then we also help students. We guide them through their path through career consulting. We do HACCP, accredited HACCP courses. So how do you basically educate your audience about all the food safety guidelines or any standards or just in general?
So, for the students, I do have a slide in my training where I say these are the links that you can go to, and these are the links that you can register on if you're interested in staying up to date. But also, we do talk about recent recalls or very impactful recalls in the history or um, food safety culture in general. I do reinforce that a lot on students because they're the ones who are building their foundation right now, right? So it's very important that they um, absorb that importance of food safety culture. Other things I feel like, paperwork and all that, like I said, is something that you can learn and it evolves and you get used to it, but the culture is something that you have to imbibe and you really have to take it very seriously. I've had instances in my past where people weren't taking maybe recalls very safe. For example, mock recall, they weren't taking it seriously,
Yeah.
and in that case you have to really put it across to them that if you mess up here, it's a legality issue. You can go to jail for that. So, you really have to take these things, even if it's mock recall, like it's just like you're pretending that there's a recall, even then, it is a serious matter. You can't just take it lightly. And for clients, I just try to explain it to them again and again that, you want to follow the regulations and these are the repercussions.
Any resources, any tools to educate them?
Yeah, so we both of us do regular posts on social media about changes in food safety, any new updates, any facts, any recalls, like significant recalls that have come out. We post about it and we talk about it. How can we avoid it? And we do blogs and we try to educate the audience as much as possible through these resources. One on one, yes, but digitally to people who are not even dealing with us one on one, more so because the more people know about it, the better it is, right? We do post, any updates that have come out from regulatory point of view or anything that even we learn. I think, like if we do a course and if we learn something new, we do post about it.
Right. How many courses does a short food safety offer right now? Food safety courses.
So Short Food Safety does the HACCP course, which is a 2-day course, and that is if you've not had a certification before, and or you need certification to maybe get into the industry, or you need the certification as part of the requirement if you're going for say a HACCP audit. So we do provide the 2-day 8 hours HACCP course, and we do also provide the HACCP refresher course, so which is a 1 day. But for the prerequisite for that one is that you have to have an existing HACCP certificate. Maybe you're trying to refresh yourself, or maybe your certificate is going to expire. Our certificate will never expire. So sometimes people do come to us and say, "Oh, I found a certification course that is $150 and you're charging so much."
Yeah.
But they don't realize the difference in the quality of the education that they're getting. If you're only going for a certificate and you don't care about what you're paying for, that's different. Sometimes, yes, I mean, someone's ideology could be, all I care is about the certificate.
How can companies or students register a course with you?
So they can go on our website. There's a link where they can read about it. We have our reviews and we've got all the information. They can go on there or they can reach out to us. They can reach out to us via emails, LinkedIn, Instagram. Our phone numbers are there. There's a lot of ways if someone wants to reach out to us.
Do you think certifications are important for students when you are still like in the process of graduating, or you've already graduated. I remember when you and me did, we were working in the industry, right? But it's been years and years now. Time have changed, of course, the industry have changed. Their HACCP is more strongly implemented and a requirement now as compared to when we were in the when we started our careers, right? So do you think a HACCP certification or any other courses that you can recommend for students that they should take either when they're in the journey of getting graduated or they're already graduated?
Good question. My answer would be a yes and no.
Okay.
It it gives them that that knowledge early on in their careers, and it does help them get a better job, maybe, or a better paying job at least, or maybe at a better position. I also feel, on the other hand, if they've worked in the industry for even 1 year, then they can relate to what you're talking about. I've had, and I'm sure you might have had students too who've not yet started working in the industry, and you might have had students who've already worked in the industry. And there's a difference in the level of understanding. If maybe even for myself, even like say if I maybe did the course when had not yet started working in the industry, I might not have been able to relate to what that person is talking about. So that's why I have a very mixed opinion about it. Like, yes, they should do the course, and it really helps them to grow and understand these things early on in the career. But also, on the other hand, the relatability factor is not there. Like, you can't really relate or understand what is it, because if you're working in the industry and you've got, say, an example in your mind, say if you've got a student who works in the juice industry, and you're talking about HACCP plans and risk assessment and blah 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 about juices, then they can relate and they can understand and they can implement it better.
But Simran, don't you think employers, if they have five resumes and they have three people on their resume saying they're HACCP certified and two of them are not, don't you think employers would prefer or students or people or employee they're planning to hire having certificate rather than not having? Like, this is what I have seen in the industry. I completely agree with you. The relatability factor does miss out if you don't know what you're talking, if you have never seen a processing facility. But what I personally feel with now, maybe when we were there, HACCP or other certifications were not that much of requirement. But what I feel with the time changes and the companies, they because they now require have to have someone has some, so they prefer to have hired has a, it's not good for maybe for the people who are spending their money and get certifications because they just spend so much on their education, right? But I feel like industry, businesses, they prefer people having certificate get hired
Definitely.
rather than them paying after to get the
That's
certification,
true. I mean, I
right?
agree. And it looks better on your resume. And also, you've got that additional knowledge. I mean, it's always a perk,
Yeah.
right? It will never harm to have additional information. You will always be a step ahead of the others if you've got HACCP certification. So definitely, it does help them to get a job, a better job, maybe a better paying job, or maybe a better position. I've seen people myself who've um, never worked in the industry, gotten their HACCP certificate, and got the job of a HACCP coordinator. Not even a QA tech. Or, but yeah, that's why like I sometimes have mixed feelings about it, because I started my career as a QA tech and then eventually worked my way up. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's the journey that it should be like for everybody,
Because you
because
have to understand the floor, you have to know what is going on the
exactly.
floor.
You understand the basics. You can't develop a plan if you don't understand how the operations work,
Work.
how the floor works, right? So you really have to first, like, it's a building block. Start from level zero, and then maybe make your way up.
Do you have any tips for aspiring QAQCs when they are going for interviews or any job positions or anything that you want to share with ex- on basis of your journey so far?
I feel like, and this is what I always tell people, is that do your research as much as possible. Do your homework, right? Build up your resume as per the job that you're applying for. You might have to tweak your resume every time you apply to a company according to their needs, right? Do research about their company, about their product. about what are you stepping into. And also don't be super picky, especially in the beginning. Grab what you get, because you're a fresher, you're just starting your career. You will have all your life to like pick and choose between companies, between roles and positions and this and that. But I feel like in the beginning, just get what you have and go go with it. I mean, my first job was graveyards, and I used to live like 50 kilometers from where the job was, and I didn't know, I mean, how am I going to get there? It used to take me 3 hours to get there at the beginning, because this I didn't have a car. I had to move eventually closer to the location, but in the beginning, I remember if I had to start at 4 a.m., I had to leave home at 1 a.m. to get there by like 4, quarter to 4 at least. And then I started doing graveyard, so I would start at 11 p.m. So it would take me 2 hours one way. It was a long, long journey. But I feel like if I hadn't taken that step of just grabbing what I got, and it was like within a month of our last final exam. So I was glad that I had a job within the industry within a month. I didn't care at the time what the hours were like or how much struggle I had to get there.
Right.
I had to get there, or what the starting pay was, as long as I had a job.
Right. That's the way to go. Don't be picky and grab the opportunity, whatever you get. Because if we have been picky, we still have been sitting there where we were years and years ago, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, one last question. What are your aspirations for the future of assured food safety and advocacy for food safety?
For assured food safety, it is to achieve another milestone. Another year is coming up, and we've grown and we've expanded in our own ways, and we've, you know, done different courses, and we have some goals and we have ideas in mind. So, kind of work on that, get it, just move on from like, I can only do so much to, we can do a lot more than what we are able to do right now. Exactly. And I feel like, yeah, like do one thing at a time. Don't try to achieve a lot of things at the same time. That's what probably works better for me, is that, yeah, do something different, do something new, but one at a time. And for advocacy for food safety would be follow the policies. It's not for the audit. It's not to get the best grade. It's just practice, and it's just you want to make sure that what you're doing and what you're making is safe for consumption.
Right.
Sometimes because everybody in the small business industry gets so busy in their day to day that they overlook some things, and they don't realize that this little thing could eventually cause such a big problem.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that was the end of the episode. Thank you so much, Simran, for taking your time to join us today and have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me.
That's it for today's episode of the Safe Table podcast. And a big thank you to Simran for sharing her journey and insights about the food safety business. If you like this episode, do share, like, subscribe, comment, and as you know, your support means world to us. Until then, bon appetit.